final whistle. It has finished. Sheffield United 0, West Ham United 1. West Ham rise to 8th in the Premier League. It's back-to-back wins for the Hammers. We said on paper these are the games we should be winning. Well, we've gone out there on the grass and we've done that. We've beaten Fulham 1-0 very narrowly, a late winning goal, and it's again a second half goal, 56-minute goal from Sebastian Haller, who was pretty damn good today, I think. That's lifted the Hammers back up to 8th spot in the Premier League. Nosebleed time, Pinky, for the Hammers now.
Yeah, I mean, very, very good indeed. And these are the games you've got to win. Whilst a point away from home is never, ever a bad result, a win obviously is better. And, how often in our history have we gone to teams that sit bottom of the table and we've got turned over? Teams that we should beat, and they actually get something from the game. So I'm very, very pleased with what we've done today. A little bit harem-scaring with 10 minutes to go, and I've sort of lost it a bit there, but I will never, ever, ever accept when you're a goal to the good, when you surrender the ball, that you've got 7 players the wrong side of it. I mean, that's just bad football. They got their act together quite quickly after that, and saw the game out with a bit more intelligent game management. But that's a good win because any way you slice it, 8th position, a positive goal difference of +5. We've had quite a few difficult games so far this season. That game this afternoon, never a classic, never one that you're going to keep in your top 10 West Ham games, not even of this season, let alone of all time. Mm-hmm. But we've got 3 points. And sometimes you just got to win ugly. And they've tried to drag us down to their level. Sheffield United looked to me like a championship standard team. Lots of huff, lots of puff, but no real guile, skill, class or finesse. And that kind of sums them up as a football club, really. No class or finesse. And they got what they deserved this afternoon, which was nothing. I hope that they lose heart. I hope they lose hope. I hope they lose any shred of dignity they've got left. And I hope they go down. Ha, ha, ha.
Rio, follow that.
Pinky, don't mince your words, mate. You're amongst friends. Tell us what you really think.
Yeah, well, they really boil my piss. I'm sorry, but, they really do upset me.
No fans of Sheffield United here in the KUMB studio, as you can tell, and a great deal of delight following that victory. Rio, it's been another unspectacular performance from West Ham, but it's another winning one. And as we keep saying time after time, if you can go out there and not play to your best and still come away with 3 points, you must be doing something right. And David Moyes is doing plenty right this season so far.
Most definitely. He's got a coaching staff around him that is working immaculately. He's drilled into his side a resolution and a belief that we've not seen in many West Ham sides over the last 30, 40 years, have we? I'm just delighted. I mean, you say it wasn't a spectacular performance, but there was enough there that we could have won that by 3 or 4 easily. It took one moment of sheer class and had to do it. We didn't capitalise on our chances, but we showed enough there to put them to the sword. It's only when we lost a little bit of concentration. Arthur had a great game until that moment, the lapse of concentration, which he is prone to, as we all know. Sheffield United broke away and hit the bar. Apart from that, they didn't really offer a lot. No, we was by far the better side. No, and with our limited squad, the limited trusted players that Moyes has at his disposal, we ain't doing too badly, are we? We're doing all right.
We certainly are. We're doing we're certainly doing a lot better than most West Ham fans predicted we'd be doing, I think, by this stage, sitting 8th in the Premier League as we speak with 14 points from 9 games. And of course, back-to-back wins, which doesn't happen very often, regardless of the quality of the opposition. Some final match stats for you. Well, Sheffield United managed to turn the possession statistic around in the end, enjoying 51%. I would say enjoying, they didn't really enjoy it a lot, I guess. They had 51% of possession ultimately to West Ham's 49%. 9 shots for Sheffield United to 15 for West Ham, backing up what Rio said there a few moments ago about, the Hammers perhaps having the opportunities to win by a greater margin than the one goal that we did in the end. Sheffield United, 5 shots on target. West Ham only 3 out of those 15 on target. A little bit of profligacy in front of goal, but of course, Hilaire's goal, the only one that counted. 2 corners for Sheffield United, 6 for West Ham, 7 fouls committed by Sheffield United, 6 by West Ham United. But West Ham United winning 1-0. Gnome, we did say, Pinky said that it wouldn't make the top 10 games of the season, that one today. That goal from Sebastian Hilaire probably will make a top 10 or 2, though. I would wager by the end of the campaign.
Yeah, decent bit of class. I think what was concerning me was that Pinky sort of mentioned class and that, and yeah, I mean, compared with them, we had it, they didn't. And the problem Sheffield United have got is that huffing and puffing will only get you so far. We could easily have dropped 2 points there, but with that effort that hit the bar, and but overall, class you hope would actually tell. And so just showing the goal again and Haller's non-celebration, I actually like that. I think that's as much a celebration as Antonio doing, isn't that? To me, and I think that's quite funny. You may want to put me on mute for a few minutes because very shortly we're going to go to the managers.
Okay.
In fact, we've got Haller on now, so mute me and I'll tell you what he has to say.
Good stuff. Well, we'll come back to Gnome in just a few moments. Pinky, time for man of the match shouts. Quite a few out there today. Sebastian Hilaire, as we've said already, played very, very well today. Made the difference with a fantastic goal. Lucas Fabianski, another clean sheet, made several decisive saves, made himself big for the big chance for McBurney, when he crashed that shot against the crossbar, in the 75th minute there. Declan Rice looked strong and assured, a couple of dodgy moments, but a much, much better performance. Angelo Ogbonna in there, superb job at the back, making his challenges at the right time. Very, very decisive, very, very clever. Arthur Masuaku, I could go on. Lots of contenders today. Who tipped tips the scales for you out there this afternoon?
For me today, I mean, always start with the starting point of goals are the most precious commodity in the game. That's why strikers cost what they do. It's why they get paid what they get. And for me, my man of the match today was Sebastian Haller, a player who I've criticised pretty much continually all season. Maybe harshly, maybe not harshly. But today, you've got to judge him on today's performance. He did enough today to some good touches. He battled well, and crucially, he got the goal. He pulled the trigger, hit the target, and that's why we got the 3 points. Ogbonna was outstanding at the back again, but it's almost getting to the stage where you expect that level of performance every single week from Angelo.
Yeah.
Whereas Seb, he's had to fight a few demons, but that's his 6th goal of the season today, and he's done well for us. So for my money today, I'd make him my man of the match.
Okay, excellent. Rio, would you go along with that, or do you have someone else in mind?
No, I'm completely in agreement with Pinky about Seb getting it. And you also summed up the contenders very nicely indeed. For Angelo, once again, was outstanding. Declan Rice is showed today why he's a mainstay at the England side now. He looked imperious at times.
Yep.
Arthur would have got it, but his usual lapse of concentration almost cost us. But Seb, for me, at the end of the day, at this level, you need goals. He was the only one willing to take a shot from outside the area all game, and he did it with absolute ferocity and clinical precision. But just in general, his whole attitude was so much better. He didn't have a lot to work with. The delivery into the box was by and large rank,
Mm-hmm.
But he's worked a lot. He's proved a lot of people wrong. He's got involved. He created a good chance for Souček earlier on. He's been more kind of involved in the game and looked for the ball a little bit more. He's worked well, but at the end of the day, as Pinky said, goals win games. And that strike was worthy of winning any game in the Premiership.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Gnome, we've had 2 shouts so far for Sebastian Haller as man of the match. Would you disagree with that, or are you going to go along with the other guys?
Yeah, I give it to him. So I've got to retune because the channel that I was watching on won't have any more reaction. They just had Haller there, just interviewed him, and he actually did crack a smile, and
Good Lord.
And he said it was a special goal for me because it was outside the box, which acknowledging the fact that that's his first one. That's that stat that you half-inch from the bead, and he did crack a smile, and he mentioned the fact that things were great on the training ground. He said everybody's really putting in a lot of hard work, and he said, I don't think we know what our potential is, because they were asking him more about the team and how far the team can go. So it wasn't a long interview, and he didn't really say an awful lot, but he was happy with the goal. And as I say, I've not seen many interviews with him before.
No.
And he speaks English very well. So he speaks well, and seems a considered, intelligent sort of speaker there. So I don't even want to mute me again because I've retuned to the channel where the reaction will be on.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for some now. I don't know how long it's gone, but
okay. Well, we'll keep you on just in case, and
what I'll do
if you need to crack off, if I hear any background noise, I'll mute you at a suitable point.
I'll wave the remote.
Okay. Okay. Excellent stuff. So I'm going to go along with you guys. I'm going to give my man of the match award to Sebastian Haller. You've all said why already. I was so impressed with him today. The goal was the icing on the cake. The work rate, we spotted it pretty much from the start, didn't we? I think we had the conversation at half time, and all of us, I think, agreeing that we were impressed at how much his work rate had improved over recent games. Gnome, you highlighted that incident in the second half where he chased back 50 yards to the halfway line to put the pressure under the opponent who put the ball out for a throw in. Consequently, and as we said, it's something you haven't seen him doing up to now, or in recent weeks at least. So no question, I think for me that Seb Haller gets man of the match. But one other player that I didn't mention in the roundup, Cresswell, again, another excellent performance. Played very, very well, and indeed. But yeah, it was good. It's nice, isn't it, to have a lot of contenders. Just diving into the YouTube live chat to see what some of you guys are thinking about in terms of your particular man of the match nominations. Gnome is giving me the hand signal, so I presume he's going off. You are on mute now, Gnome. Thank you. I think that was uttered. Gavin McGrath, Declan Rice, arguably his best game ever. His passing percentage must have been around 98%. He did not give the ball away once. I cannot say enough. Mark English suggests Arthur Masuaku, and Simon Osborne says Declan Rice or Angelo Ogbonna. As I say, lots of opinion, lots of choice. Mike Larkin says David Moyes challenged Sebastian Haller to show what he's all about, and he did. He came out with a rocket up in second half and showed very good attitude. Excellent in the second half. Also good management. And Mike, as I said a few moments ago, I think I would go further and say that he was excellent throughout the full 90 minutes. W.A. Harrington says, late joining here, a scrappy win does not displease me in the least. And he also says Fabianski for me. A clean sheet and some very important saves right back as early as the 3rd minute when Baldock enjoyed the first shot of the game, forcing that save at his near post from Fabianski, sort of laying down a marker for the rest of the game, really, our keeper there. Mrs. P. Poe says, respect to Oggy, the bloke was getting pelters not so long ago while playing half a season with a groin injury. And Yeah, absolutely. Mrs. P, I thought he was fabulous today. Made some really brilliant interceptions and challenges. Timed them all very well. And as we said, lots of choices. So good stuff. Pinky, West Ham, 8th in the table. Just coming back to something that Gnome reiterated from Sebastian Haller, saying that even the team don't appear to know how good they could potentially be. We certainly don't, because we all thought West Ham were going to struggle this season. But interesting to hear one of the players actually coming out and saying the same there.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you're actually seeing is the manager's influence now flowing through the team, whereby, you know, you win as a team, you lose as a team, you keep your feet on the ground, you know, you be a little bit humble, a little bit modest, and let the results do the talking for you. And yeah, we're in 8th position. You know, it's a decent start to the season. And again, in how many seasons have we sat there round about this time of the year and bemoaned a slow start by West Ham United? It's almost been our trademark for the last 5 or 6, 7 years. So to be where we are, particularly when you look at the run of games that we've had, you say this is a good start by any measure. The only sort of tinge of disappointment I'll put on this is I'm still not convinced the manager's been fully supported in the transfer market by the chairman. And I think if Mr. Sullivan's, you know, tuning in, and I hope you are, Mr. Sullivan, good afternoon, sir. But if he's tuning in, the difference between those top 4 and 5 positions and the next 4 or 5 might just be that one striker who we seemingly didn't have the money for. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes you've got to say the football professionals at the club, mainly the manager, might know a bit more about it than, say, any of us who are watching, or certainly any more than the chairman. And I think it's telling again today that Ben Rama didn't get on the pitch. I think the fact that the manager made it very clear who he wanted in the window. And maybe Haller, you know, he's saying we don't know how good we could be. He could finish the statement. Don't know how good we could be if the manager got fully backed in the transfer window and we had a more balanced squad. So we're doing well, but the person that really needs to up his game is David Sullivan. I'm sorry, it's a regular theme with me, this, but actually some managers seem to be able to go to their chairman and get the players they want. Other managers, it seems to be a harder job. And our club in particular, can the last 5 or 6 managers all have been wrong? And, you know, I just wish that the chairman would leave it to the manager a bit more, give him a little bit more support. We're not asking for Manchester City type expenditure. We're not asking for Liverpool type expenditure. But I'm asking for a little bit of respect for the manager from the chairman, that when the manager says, I need a striker because, then the chairman should listen to the manager, not to Will Salthouse, who's saying, this is the player you need because he was the best player in the championship last year, and you might be able to make some money by selling him on in a couple of years. There is a place for that, of course, once you've satisfied the manager's needs. But it's about prioritising, particularly on a limited budget. And, you know, the real killer for me this year, let's say we continue to do well. Let's say we finish 5th or 6th. And just another oh so near moment. And how different it could be if we'd been a bit braver and a bit more professional as a club, not as a team.
Do you get the feeling, Pinky, that perhaps if the results continue in such a positive trend, that there may be greater backing coming from the board? Do you think there was that kind of reticence from David Sullivan and his associates to back Moyes financially in the last transfer window, because they were so unsure that he would be able to, you know, get this much out of the team, I guess?
Well, I think the first thing they've got to do is back him with a new contract.
Of course.
I mean, you know, we're talking about Chris Wilder potentially being under pressure. Well, let's not kid ourselves. You know, we've got a situation where David Moyes is out of work in 6 months. So he's currently sitting 8th of this team in the Premier League, and the transfer window opens in what, 30 odd days time, 35 days time. does he even bother looking at targets? Because he may not be the manager to actually either sign them or actually see them actually come through into the first team. We've got this strange situation where we had Moyes. We let him go, I think, quite shabbily because the chairman thought he'd got a much better option in Manuel Pellegrini.
Yeah.
We then go back cap in hand to David Moyes, but we give him a relatively short-term deal. Can people tell me what it is that David Moyes has to do to actually get the courtesy of a new contract offer from David Sullivan? He's shown a bit of respect for his efforts. I don't know. It seems a very bizarre set of circumstances. And what exactly is David Sullivan waiting for? And who does he expect that he's going to come in and do better than Moyes is currently doing on the budget that Moyes has been given, that actually will transform our fortunes in the way that he doesn't seem to want to give Moyes an extended opportunity to do so? I think we're in a very strange position as a football club.
Yeah,
I'm going to switch the light on because I'm sitting in the dark all of a sudden.
I did notice it was, it was kind of light before you started that monologue, and we're sort of only just seeing the glare from your glasses now, but that's better. We can see you now, buddy. It just makes you wonder, maybe that contract will be forthcoming in the next couple of weeks now with West Ham in such a strong position, really. And we'll wait and see,
I'll lay a
won't we?
small bet. The contract offer will come round about the end of the first week of February.
Okay.
And the reason why the contract offer, I suspect, isn't being made now, why would you want to strengthen the manager's hand before a transfer window?
Yep.
Clearly, you're not going to give him money to spend, when actually you can say, do you know what? We can do it after the transfer window shuts and then give the manager a contract, knowing he can't spend any money for a further 5 or 6 months. And that's where we are as a football club now. It's all about the pound note. It's all about the chairman desperately trying to claw back on the purse strings, having blown an absolute fortune under Manuel Pellegrini and seeing precious little in the way of return for that money. And this is the classic case of a competent, experienced manager being punished for the sins of his predecessor.
Yeah, very, very much so. Well, we shall put that one on record, Pinky, and see if you're right. I mean, it would certainly be in line with everything Sullivan's done before, isn't it? By waiting until the last possible moment to offer that new contract. We saw this with Allardyce, I think it was a few years ago, wasn't it? When he didn't actually announce he had a new contract until the season had finished. But anyway, we'll put that one on the back burner for now, and we'll see how that goes. Let's have a look at the KUMB.com forum match thread, Rio, and then Pinky, probably slightly more enjoyably, we'll have a look at the Sheffield United forums to see what they're saying. But Rio, what's the scoop on the KUMB forum? I would imagine everyone's elated right now, aren't they? 8th place, a win against one of our most hated rivals in Sheffield United of recent seasons, and back-to-back wins. Great stuff. And a goal for Sebastian Haller, of course, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of positivity, as you'd obviously expect. A lot of praise for a lot of our players. As we said in our post-match chat, and you pointed out, 3 or 4 players could have picked up man of the match there easily. And just to pick out we've got another 6 pages as comments to wade through. But,
Lovely.
Here we go. Simon Hammer. Declan Rice has been outstanding. Bob Bond has been outstanding. Hard to choose between them for man of the match, but Rice for me has had slightly the better game. Ironing board. Rice for me, with Cresswell also catching the eye. But I'll probably give it to Haller. If I had the power for his match-winning contribution, it would be good for my confidence. Lincoln Hammer, 1963, has put, we are entering new territory as West Ham fans. We are winning games that we are not playing particularly well in. This is what successful teams do.
Yep.
They win ugly. Could we be onto something? Paul Garcia was always going to be a tough game, but we come away with 3 points, onwards and upwards. Dorothy, 6 points about our best player. Brilliant. To be 8th for the fixtures we've had is fantastic. Today was a real banana skin. We got the 3 points, onwards and upwards. Matty D has put, can't argue with Roggy as man of the match. I'd have gone with Rice though. Played like Billy Bonds today. Pleased for Hilaire. Hopefully he can kick on from here. I think he needs to know what kind of player he is and what he needs to do and how the team needs to use him. Arthur was great, but gave him a couple of chances, including their best one. Bowen needs the trick to stop teams making him run backwards. Peaches have put, we deserve the win. It's professional performance, but our crossing, passing, decision-making was poor. Rice, Ogbonna, Cresswell and Hilaire were our best players. I thought Bowen and Fornats were particularly poor, especially in the final third. But Bain was good defensively, but his distribution often puts us under pressure. Just a couple more to go. Lincoln Hammer 1963 again. He followed up with, let's all start believing in David Moyes. We have a decent manager who's managing a decent group of players. We all know as West Ham fans that under previous managers, we will not be getting these kind of results. Time to give the manager respect for the way he's turned his ramshackle of a club around. GSB, keep your trap shut and let the manager and players do the talking. And just to finish off, here we go. Parker's here. Overall, a decent performance. Final ball and decision making in the final third was poor at times, though. Great strike by Hilaire. Hopefully that will boost his confidence. Rice is grown as a player and will struggle to keep hold of him next summer. Defence was generally strong, but a few lapses of concentration, but not many chances given away. Moyes is turning us into a fit, strong team that is difficult to beat and can score goals. And that pretty much encapsulates what the forum is saying.
Superb, fantastic. Thank you, Rio, for that latest roundup. Good to see so much positivity flowing through the veins of every West Ham United supporter right now. We deserve it. We've had a rough time of late, of course, so it's nice to see a bit of positivity. Rio, just one question for you before I move on to Pinky, who's got the views of the Sheffield United fans. And then, of course, we're going to be going to Gnome, who's been watching the press conferences right after that. You mentioned there, one of the comments was that we'd enjoyed back-to-back wins without our best player, who, of course, Michail Antonio, which I thought was a really interesting point, because do we bring him back in if he's fit next week, or do we go with Hilaire again, rejuvenated Hilaire, who's just scored the winning goal? I mean, that's a big issue to contemplate, isn't it, for David Moyes in the week? Most definitely.
And I actually received a message from Adam the Smudge, long-time forum member. And he put, it's an interesting conundrum for Moyes. If he wants to drop Hilaire for Antonio after that performance, it would say more than 1,000 words. Yeah. Hilaire must just have lit his boiler. You know, it's a very interesting dilemma we've got now. We've only got a small group of players that Moyes obviously, you know, but they're all contributing. They're all producing performances. Obviously, Antonio offers that more robustness, that physicality.
Yep.
Drive and determination at times, but Hilaire's given a bit of something to think about, hasn't he? You know,
yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say Antonio's our best player. You know, I think our strong points lie elsewhere. But in a system that David Moyes plays, he is the ideal match. But Sebastian Hilaire's put out a marker today. If he is fit for next week, Michail Antonio, what does he do? It's a very, very tough thing to call.
It is. So what would you do?
Who are we playing next week? I completely forgot.
Villa.
I'd be tempted, and I'm always just stuck with the same side relentlessly for the last set of games, isn't he? Which is something that we've been sadly lacking over the last few years, and I think it's helped contribute to our success.
Yeah.
So I'd actually stick with Hilaire today.
Okay, there you go.
It's for two reasons. A, because he's performed so well today. But B, if we are chasing a goal, we do need to change the game. Who better to come from the bench than Michail Antonio? No, his bullish nature against a tiring defence could prove all the difference. Also, with Michael's kind of fitness problems over the years, it can be a little bit brittle at times. No, don't rush him back if you don't need to. Let him get back up to speed, then think about chopping and changing the side around.
Okay, well, there you have it. Antonio wouldn't get in the team, according to Rio, following today's performance. And you know what, Rio? I totally agree with you. Don't change a winning team. And I think Pinky is in full agreement as well.
Absolutely. You know, the message you give to a striker, if you score, you play, son. And so Haller, he scored the goal, you start again next week. And from the manager's position, he's got the great luxury, if Antonio is fit, you have Antonio on the bench, and you say to Seb Haller, you did the business last week against Sheffield United. You know, you start him against Aston Villa, and if after 65, 70 minutes he hasn't scored, sorry, off you come. Antonio, on you go. Show what you can do.
Yeah.
He's then got the problem the following week, but what he can't have is a player turning up and banging on his door on a Monday morning say, you don't even give me a chance when I do score. So I don't believe that a manager of David Moyes' experience is going to fall into that trap. He'll start with Sebastian Haller. Of that, I'm absolutely certain. And he'll have Antonio, if available, on the bench to come on. That's the way I think that'll unfold.
And who'd have thunk just a few weeks ago that we would even be contemplating leaving a fit Michail Antonio out of the team? But testament there to how well West Ham are playing, and of course to how Sebastian Haller did today. Let us know what you think. I can see a few of you are already commenting on this on the YouTube live chat. Simon Osborne says I'll still go for Antonio, and Wanstead Hammer says I'd bring in Antonio for 4 nails. Ken Townley says if Michail is fit, I'd start them both. Trodge says Antonio in as Haller can't hold the ball up as well. But I'm totally in agreement with what Pinky's just said there. I think strikers thrive and feed on confidence. If you tell the player that he's bought himself a start in the next game, that's how you tend to get the best out of players, especially those in a position of scoring goals. So no, we haven't asked you for your thoughts on this one.
Well, do you want me to go through?
What do you
we've
think?
had both managers.
Well, let's come back to that in a minute, but let's just stick
sure.
on the Haller and Antonio issue first. What do you think on that one?
I mean, in fact, something. I mean, when we go on to what David Moyes had to say, there's an interesting perspective on that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change the winning team. I'm not a great fan of changing the winning team. I think Haller played well enough today, to justify being selected. It also gives us the luxury of the fact that Antonio's hamstrings are not at their strongest, and it's if we're not desperate to bring him back, then give him the extra rest.
So a full house it is then.
And but interesting perspective on the situation with Haller from David Moyes, who came on a few. So I've had both managers. Moyes first.
Okay.
And
let's come on to that in just a minute, if we can, because before we do that, I want to go quickly over to Pinky, who's been keeping an eye on the Sheffield United forums. So get ready to enjoy this. Sit back, relax, and a little bit of Schadenfreude is on its way, hopefully, as Pinky reports on what the Blades fans have been saying about that defeat to West Ham of all teams today.
And first up, we've got Lawrence, who is a WF9 Blade, and he's saying, it's sad to say, but we look a beaten team. Fighting is not good enough in the Prem. You need class. Lawrence, I agree with you. Moving swiftly along, icy baby. Only way we're scoring is with a massive slice of luck, and it ain't happening. So these are still in-game comments. They're then saying they all miss the fans. People keep going on about Fulham and Burnley. We are worse than them. Completely ineffectual all over the pitch. We will beat Derby's record with ease this season. And Betting Blade, I do hope you're correct. Next one, Hillsborough Blade. Well, he's obviously hard. He's got a picture of the Craigs as his avatar. We go backwards more than an Italian tank. Just a bit of casual racism there from the correspondent from Hillsborough, and side full of statues. Yet hard to disagree with that. Some great deliveries into the box first half. Some decent chances. No one who can bang it in. Yeah, Antarctic Monkey. Oh, there you go. Them's the breaks, son. Then there's a couple of them calling each other nasty names, which is always nice to see. Jesus, UTB, Wilder looks like a man under loads of pressure. No doubting he's a legend. He's got to change the system in some way. Not doing so is either pure stupidity or blind faith. JJ Blade is saying that low points record is just made for Sheffield United. I mean, I'm agreeing with almost everything they're saying here. Forever set in stone has been the worst ever Premier League team. You can't argue with this. I mean, you know, the Bible contained less truth than this. And you know, there's just honesty all over their forum. I just say, you know, I feel you're paying Sheffield United supporters. I really do.
There it is. There it is. There is Pinky positively bathing in the tears of the Sheffield United fans as they look back on another demoralising defeat against the Hammers. 1 point from 9 games for Sheffield United. Surely plummeting straight back to the Championship at the end of this season, unless they, of course, perform a miracle. Yeah, of course, they've been involved in a miracle in the Premier League not so long ago, of course, when they were 10 points ahead of West Ham and ended up finishing below them and getting relegated. But anyway, enough of that. Thank you, Pinky, for that excellent and concise roundup of the thoughts from Blades fans this afternoon. Gnome has been waiting very patiently. He's been muted for quite some time. Well, he's been Pinky. One more.
Just had me sent a comment that Sheffield United have just hired Giuliani to be their lawyer.
Excellent stuff. Thank you, Pinky.
On that subject, sorry, just before I get onto that, there's I being half Irish, obviously I see various Irish news sites. Best headline of the whole thing with Giuliani and Trump was the headline was West Clare hotelier loses presidential election, which was one of the better ones. So anyway, the managers,
press conferences, managers, Chris Wilder, David Moyes, what have they been saying? No,
we had Moyes was on first.
Okay.
And the interesting comment was about Haller. He was asked about Haller and said, and he suggested that Haller in training had been on another level since returning back from international duty. So maybe, playing international football kind of agrees with him and has instilled some sort of buzz into the player that may not have been there. But he was very, very complimentary about it since his return from the break.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, long may that continue. He said he wasn't surprised at how tight it was, but he said that he did say that he changed quite a lot behind the scenes in recent months and about the way they do things. And he was very complimentary about the players having bought into whatever it is they've changed. He wasn't pressed to go into details on that, but was full of praise for the spirit within the squad. And he said, but we're not getting the usual. We're not getting carried away. He said after about 10 games, you start to have a look at the league table and start to think about where you are and what you can be doing. So, I can't remember the phrase Haller himself used, but Haller came up with a phrase that effectively means, obviously, we're going to take each game as it comes. He didn't actually say that. He came up with another way of saying it. I can't remember how he said that, but I did raise a smile at that one. Wilder, who I keep wanting to call Billy, one for the youngsters there, was predictably downbeat. Need to be a bit more clinical with finishing. That presumably alluded to the McBurney shot that hit the bar. But they're a good bunch of lads, the usual thing. And but this, I think, was a good comment and perhaps illustrative of the difference between the two sides today. Was that he said that Sheffield United weren't playing with the freedom that results bring, and so that at times they were being a little bit more taking one extra touch or delaying a final ball.
Mhm.
And I think that was a fair comment. I think that West Ham, obviously, when you've got decent run of results, you play with that confidence. You take on things without thinking about them, and they're more likely to work. Whereas if you sit and think, if I try that pass, we might cut it out. Well, the time's gone to make that pass. So Moyes upbeat, Wilder downbeat, predictably so. No great revelations other than, as I say, whatever the Ivory Coast did with Haller. Please, can they do it more?
Obviously, the might of Madagascar proving to give Haller that added impetus required to become a fully fledged Premier League star.
I didn't think it was that great a film.
Yes. Very good, very good. Great stuff. Let's look ahead now, chaps. I mean, we've well, actually, before we do that, I mean, any thoughts on that, Gnome, on what Moyes said there? I mean, what did you sort of take from his post-match comments? I mean, good stuff to see him kind of still grounded and not getting carried away.
Yeah, quite right. I mean, as supporters, we ought to sort of perhaps take a leaf from that sort of book. And it's easy to get carried away.
Forget that. We're eighth in the table. This is amazing.
Well,
We've not been this high for ages.
I haven't been on the forum this afternoon. Obviously, been doing this, but it's how long before some people start talking about Europa League and things like that.
Yeah.
As I say, I mean, and it is the greatest football cliche of all time, isn't it? Let's take each game it comes.
Yep.
That's been working so far. Let's do it. Let's see where we can end up. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're only, I mean, as Antonio has proved, up until today, we're not really the same side without him. And this will seem like a repeat, but we always say this on these broadcasts that we lack that strength in depth.
Yeah.
So if you look, that must be how many times have we now picked the same side or virtually the same side side with either Haller or Antonio? 10 of those 11 have started the last, I don't know how many games. Somebody will tell me, no doubt. But and that's a settled side.
Yeah.
You can't do that if you've got injuries. And then if you look at, we mentioned Cresswell playing out of his skin in that sort of new revised role of his.
Yeah.
He gets injured. What have we got? Ogbonna, okay, he sort of came off the other week. Thankfully, the international break meant that he was recovered. But okay, we've got Ogbonna and Babwana and Diop, but there's a little bit of cover there. But there are a number of places there that you suddenly think if you get 2 or 3 players all injured at once.
Yeah.
And of course that hasn't happened to any club ever before this season. Now it's happened to Liverpool. It's obviously a major thing. Our players getting injured too much. You only got to look back 12 months when players are out left, right, and centre, and how much that was costing us. So, we have said it. The squad needs, and it's a difficult balancing act. I mean, it's you've got to sign players who are going to have to be happy, perhaps, to be on the bench. Time now, it's easier to do that if you're Liverpool, Man City. I mean, we mentioned that was Rhian Brewster who came on today, who was left for first team action, obviously elsewhere. But when he was at Liverpool, I mean, you might be happy to sit on the bench a lot. He actually won and I say won quite wrongly, a Champions League. He's got a Champions League winners medal, which he was given, despite the fact he hadn't played a competitive match for the first team. West Ham, we can't offer that. So it's difficult trying to get players who are good enough and will add that strength in depth.
Yeah.
But who to start off with are going to have to buy their time. Ben Rama, I mean, it's clearly he's come from Brentford, which is a step up by any stretch of the imagination, and he'll be happy to be at the moment to be part of the squad. And but if we need a full-time Antonio replacement who's good enough, how happy are they going to be? Tough balancing act, that one. But it's something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, it's a good point you make there about Ben Rama. I wanted to touch on that actually because, he was our big money signing. Not involved today, barely been involved at all.
Yeah.
Apart from the Fulham game in which he kind of changed everything massively.
Too involved.
Too involved, yes, especially in our. It does go to show that Moyes is managing this team very, very well at the moment. Your thoughts quickly. Had to say there that something that pointed out that he changed a lot behind the scenes. We obviously know about the personnel, the changes. We've seen Kevin Nolan come in, who is someone that I think we've all got quite a lot of time for here as a team. A player that someone who was an exceptional player, a fantastic captain, and seems to be having an effect off the field as well now. But what did you sort of make overall of what Moyes was saying, and what changes do you think have really been making the difference at Rush Green?
Or is that to me?
No,
to you, Rio. Sorry, sorry.
I wasn't sure who that was aimed at.
Sorry, to Rio.
No. It's obviously instilled a work ethic and a higher level of fitness and organisation.
Yeah.
And I think he said yesterday, was it, in his press conference, he wants his players to run their hearts out and run further and harder than they've ever done before. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that came from him or one of the players themselves. And I think last year we was guilty of not putting the effort in. And the change of mentality and work ethic is clearly evident for all to see. No? The likes of like Felipe Anderson last year, who shone the year before, clearly he didn't want to work as hard as the rest of the squad. And this is why he's sitting on the bench in Porto and not, he's Porto in Lisbon. Now, as a squad, we're working a whole lot harder. We're more organised. I think that's a contribution of not only just down to Moyes, but his recruitment in terms of both backroom staff and playing personnel has worked wonders. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I didn't really catch all of what you said, mate, because you broke up quite a bit.
Sorry, I was just talking about what Moyes had to say, about he had changed a lot behind the scenes and really wondered what you felt had made the most difference in terms of, achieving the most from the players that he's got. Because, this is the same squad that really struggled last year, essentially, bar one or two changes. I mean, so really, what do you put it down to?
I do think it's the backroom personnel and Moyes himself. Mm-hmm. He's seen what he's got available. Despite the small amount of players, the pool of players that we have, he's disposed further still of like the periphery. The likes of Josh Cullen's got around the legs.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's let Felipe Anderson go on loan. To coin a certain manager's phrase, we are down to the bare bones in terms of personnel. Mm. So I think speaks volumes of the work that the backroom staff are doing to get these players that we have at disposal as fit as possible, working in a system which clearly suits them. They've also garnered a spirit in the squad, which is plain for all to see, right? Everyone wants to work with each other. Everyone wants to work for each other, play for each other. We actually look like a unit rather than a disparaged bunch of mercenaries, which we have done at times over the years.
Yep.
And that team ethic will carry us a lot further than that alone won't carry us forward, but it helps foster a spirit and a sense of unity, which speaks volumes for the club.
Yeah.
If you're working and playing in a happy environment, I mean, just look at the way that Pablo Fornals plays. He has a smile on his face permanently. Whether he's having his best game or his worst game, that smile is always there. And I think, again, it's summed up by the reactions to the players when Seb scored his goal today. Everyone was delighted, apart from Seb himself, who was someone on the floor. He must be the hell of a poker player because he gives nothing away.
In his interview, I will say this. I think it was like he sort of smiled and then kind of realised he was smiling and suddenly sort of went, dropped it. But it was, I love that goal celebration. I've decided, I just like the way Wilkes go, yes, goal. Yeah, I love that.
There's two ways of it, isn't there? My favourite goal celebration of all time is Marco Tardelli because in a World Cup final. Because if I ever scored one, that is just like pure emotion and pure joy. And Hilaire's one, the opposite end of the spectrum. Yeah, I've done it. Sodja. Walk away. Back to the centre. There's even two ways looking at it. And that's both ends of the spectrum, but they both mean so much to those individuals personally.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
I mean, I have this debate if I'm ever allowed out of London again with this ruddy virus, but if I'm watching football with my dad now, my dad's in his 80s, so he's getting on a bit and all that. But you'll see a goal, and every time somebody scores, there'll be some form of celebration, and it'll be like this, and Dad will go, "Oh, that drives me nuts. That does all this stuff," and so, and he'll say that whatever the game, it might be a friendly, it might be, if somebody scores in a cup final or Champions League, whatever, and they'll go running around and he'll say, "Oh, it drives me nuts, that is," and I said, I just scored a goal in a cup final, Dad. I think you're allowed a little bit of leeway there.
Of course, there are limits. You don't really want to go all Roger Johnson and have to come off.
I mean, I will say that one of the funniest things about VAR is that when there's been a delay and somebody's gone into some bonkers, totally choreographed thing, only to be told 2 seconds later that their elbow was offside or something. That can be quite funny. I mean, I don't like a choreographed or where everybody's lining up to do something, but but some sort of natural expression of joy, I think, is fair enough.
Very, very true. I mean, I quite like Alan Shearer's just simple, bent elbow, arm in the air, away you go. I mean, that was. And interestingly, you've another one of my notes here says no VAR. Didn't use it today, did we? Didn't come into play at all.
Referee had a fairly decent game. A couple of things that I thought were errors. One non-application of the advantage law, which is one of the most infuriating things in football anyway. But I mean, it wasn't a hard game to referee. There was nothing mad going on behind the scenes that he was missing or should have seen. So
I don't think there was a single booking, was there today? No bookings at all.
I think there was. I can't remember one. Somebody will put us right if there was. But,
good stuff. Good stuff. No bookings, no VAR decisions, and a nice, straightforward win. That's the way it should be.
I've given a referee some praise there. If you want to make a note of the date.
And we've got this far without any mention whatsoever of PGMOL, which must be a first in these broadcasts. So well done, though.
Still bastards, but
right. We are gonna wrap up there, but before we do so, I want to look ahead to the next few games. We have 5 games left now until Christmas. West Ham in a pretty strong position. Mike Larkin, it is, who's pointed out on the YouTube live stream that this is the most points West Ham have had after 9 games since 2015. Obviously not an awful long time ago, but still a pretty decent bar that, a high bar that we've set there. And especially given what was such, or believed to be such, a difficult sequence of matches to start the season with. So we've done really well. But as I said, we've got 5 games left until the end of until Christmas. We face Aston Villa at home, Manchester United at home. We then travel to Leeds before hosting Crystal Palace, and then in our final game before the Christmas break, we travel to Stamford Bridge for what should be our traditional 3-pointer win over there. So just thought I'd go around the table before we do wrap up today and just see how many points you think we can and how many you think we should or will get from those 5 games. As I say, it's Villa, Man U, Leeds, Palace and Chelsea. Pinky, as you've been very quiet for the last 10 or 15 minutes, I'll come to you first, please, buddy, and start with you. What do you reckon out of those 15 points? How many?
A couple of them are difficult to call. Take Aston Villa. You know, they've had quite a good start to the season. I think they're a much stronger proposition than they were 12 months ago, much stronger. So they had a very good transfer window. They bought well. They're well organised. So I might have that down as a draw. Who's up after them? Man United.
So Man United next, yeah.
Yeah, assuming Solskjaer's still in charge, which isn't that safe an assumption, but assuming he is, I fancy us to beat them. I don't think they're all that at the minute. I think it's a pretty poor Manchester United team, although, you know, what's the stat yesterday? Something like 20 penalties in a year and a half, something like that they've been awarded. It's just an enormous number. So that's always going to be a risk against them. But given a fair rub of the green with the ref, I think we've got the beating of them.
Okay. Away to Leeds after that?
Dirty Leeds. Yeah, I mean, you know, Bielsa will have them running around like nut jobs. But I actually think we're better than Leeds United. I really do. I think they're okay. They're fit, they're motivated. Bamford's in a good run of form, but I think we've got enough to beat Leeds United. So I'm having that down as a win as well. Okay. Who's next up?
Palace at home. We're at home to Palace.
Home to Palace. You've got to put down as a home win. That is one of those games at home where you really should be saying, you know, Roy's going to come for a point. So for that game, I'll say home win. And I think we'll get done by Chelsea, actually. I think Chelsea are quite good this year. I think if Frank Lampard can really tighten up their defence, that's his main challenge there. If he can do that, they're certainly top 4 material. And I think that's the game we'll certainly lose. So of that little lot, I've gone 3 wins, a draw and a defeat.
10 points, yeah.
10 points.
So you'll have us on 24 points by Christmas.
Yeah, I think you know, it's not out with the realms of possibility. And just, you know, what has Moyes changed to make all that possible? He's got youth in the part of the pitch where you need youth. He's got experience in the part of the pitch where you need experience. Mm-hmm. And where he's had some good fortune, or maybe it's good management, is in converting Antonio into the striker that no one thought he could quite be, but he's done very well at, and having just enough of a backup in Seb Haller to you know, support Antonio in that sense. But the key decisions were getting a more youthful midfield, which he's done. He's brought the average age of the team right down. That's actually starting every week. So we can now compete for 90 minutes rather than 65 or 70 minutes. So I think Moyes has done an outstanding job for West Ham United this time around. I really do. And I think 10 points for the next 5 games, I think it's doable.
Excellent. So that would take us on to 24 points for Christmas. Thank you, Pinky. Rio, let's have a look at your view on these next 5 games, starting with the match against Aston Villa next week.
Okay. Villa, really part of woeful, 3 points. Manchester United, the worst Manchester United side I've seen in memory, 3 points. Leeds away, we've probably got a bigger bucket in the back room somewhere. Moyes can sit on that, 3 points. Palace at home, Palace are garbage, 3 points. Chelsea away just before Christmas. We'll probably drop in performance slightly, a draw. 13 points before Christmas. Looking after that, I can't say it's losing the game until March. We'll wrap up the title by April the 1st. Then financial problems will leave us unable to pay any bills whatsoever, and we'll be made bankrupt by April the 15th, which is the West Ham way. Win the league, don't claim it because we're bankrupt.
Superbly done. Superbly done. So according to Rio, that will be 6 wins on the trot for West Ham up until the Chelsea game. And I wonder when the last time that happened was. You never know. Could be right. Could be right. Thank you, Rio, for that, that assessment. Gnome, let's start with a bit of game for you.
Yeah, I've gone for, just running through it there, I've gone for 10 points, but slightly different manner to Pinky's.
Okay.
I've gone, I think I'll have us to win against Villa and Manchester United. I think Leeds, it'll be a draw. A win against Palace, and then yeah, I think Chelsea might have a bit much for us. They're on form at the moment. Although, you know, last couple of seasons traditionally they've been our whipping boys. I think they might have a little bit too much for us. So same 10 points, just sourced differently from Pinky's, I think. As to winning the league and all that, surely if we win the league, we can, you know, we get the trophy, and it ends up down at cash converters, sort of half an hour after full-time whistle, so we can.
When you get the replica beforehand.
Yeah, we'll get,
do
the Brazil World Cup thing. It gets stolen and melted down and never seen again.
You can see it now, can't you, being advertised at the club shop? Have the opportunity to get photographed with the Premier League trophy at cash converters, where we've already knocked it out. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, look, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Looking at your predictions, Pinky says 24 points. Gnome says 24 points. Rio says 27 by Christmas. Judging by last season's table, 24 points would have us 5th in the table at Christmas or after 14 games. 27 would actually have us in a Champions League position. Chelsea had 26 after 14 games last season, and in 5th place, Tottenham had 20. So let's hope you're right, I guess. Let's hope you're all right. Let's hope Rio's right, in fact.
I mean, it's an odd season. If Tottenham can spend some time at the top, even if it's only one day, then, you know, it's just weird, isn't it?
Well, look, that actually brings me on very nicely, Gnome, into my final question of the day, which is who's going to win the league this year? Gnome, I'll start with you as you've brought us into that. Do you think Tottenham can hang on and win it?
No, it ain't going to be them. I honestly don't know. I think we might actually see the way things have been going in recent weeks. I think it might be worth, if you're listening, love, might be worth sticking a quid on Chelsea. They've sort of recovered from a sort of slightly not shaky start, but they're looking to have that sort of air about them, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, Tottenham, no. And Liverpool, of course, as I mentioned earlier on, the only team ever to have any injuries, and you know, they'll get all the help they can from match officials, but I think Chelsea probably not a bad bet. I don't know. I'm not a betting person. I don't know what the odds would be, but
okay.
I think probably they'll still have Liverpool as favourites.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
But,
so Chelsea for you then, no?
Yeah, I mean, not for me. I don't like Chelsea, but yeah. Chelsea to win the league, I think, is probably not a bad bet.
Interesting. Pinky, would you go along with that, or do you have someone else in mind?
I think that's where the value bet's going to be. They won't be the shortest price, but if I was looking some value in the betting market, I might be tempted to say to a Chelsea supporter that they should back their team this season. I think, you know, they've got plenty of attacking options. I think they've still got Billy Gilmore to come back into the team from injury, and I think they'll be there or thereabouts. Liverpool, you'd have to say, would be the favourites. They'd be the shortest price.
Yeah.
I think Man City are gone. I don't think Tottenham Hotspur have got enough depth. And if they looked like winning it, I would have to take drastic action anyway. So I can promise people that it won't be Tottenham, but it's coming down to Chelsea or Liverpool for me. And
Okay.
so one will be a shorter price than the other. I doubt there'll be 3 points in it by the end of the year, though. It'll be a close run thing for those two.
Okay, good stuff. Rio, thoughts? Who do you fancy?
It's Liverpool. Liverpool away for me. They might have injuries, but so is everybody else, and just got to learn to deal with it. And their squad is big enough to cope with it. If Tottenham ever won it, I'd be handing my notice towards you, Graham, straight to say, looking for a croquet forum and moderate somewhere. Chelsea just haven't got the defensive now.
Yeah.
They've got a great forward line, but they are so susceptible at the back that I fancy us against them. City are a busted flush. Yeah, no, it's going to be Liverpool. They're going to get help from, as Gnome says, they're going to get every help from the referees going. It's only a month till Christmas and 6 weeks till they can recruit again and spend some extortionate amount on a defender they don't really need. Yeah, they're fine. They're fine, Liverpool.
Okay, good stuff. For my part, I think I might even go with Chelsea. I think this might be young Franks coming of age this year. I've got a feeling that they might just have enough to pip Liverpool to the title. What's interesting is that none of us fancy the current league leaders to do anything other than go a bit Spursy, as they always do. But listen, I don't want to end this broadcast on a non-West Ham note. So let's come very, very briefly, a very quick answer, if you may. Where do we think West Ham are going to finish now? Given what we've seen in these opening few games, you know, we had a very difficult start and we came through pretty well in those. And we've now just beaten both Fulham and Sheffield United in successive matches, up to 8th in the table. No. Where can West Ham? Where do you think West Ham are going to finish this season? Not where can we finish? Where do you think we're going to finish?
Yeah, much depends on us keeping that first 10, 11, 12 players fit as possible. You know, which as we know, and seems to come as a shock to Liverpool, is not as always easy as you think. Keep that squad out. We're due a dip at some stage. That will happen one way or another. We'll go a match or two, which will rein us in perhaps a little bit. I think where we are now is probably about right. I think 8th or 7th, something like that. Yeah, I think that's probably, yeah, which is, you know, sounds a bit unambitious perhaps, but considering where we were this time last year, that's major progress. But I say, it all depends on keeping everyone fit and being able to strengthen to make sure that if players are out injured, we've got adequate replacements.
Okay.
So.
All right. Let me just pin you down if I can. 7th or 8th, if you had to choose between the two.
7th, just to be a bit more
7th.
optimistic than where we are now.
So 7th and in with a shout for Europe. Good stuff. Pinky, what do you reckon?
8th.
Okay. Simple as that. Good stuff. 8th for Pinky. Rio, what about yourself?
I'm going to go with 8th as well. I mean, there's factors you've got to take into consideration, which are probably best discussed in a podcast or another post-match forum, not when we're at the end of this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, 8th position for me. We can achieve more. If factors go against us, we can achieve less. But I think 8th's about the right way.
Okay, excellent. Pretty positive stuff this afternoon. West Ham have gone
what about
to...
you, boss? Hang on.
I would love... Do you know what? I would love to... I would love for any of you to be right and for us to finish in the top 8 and be comfortable. But I'd be quite happy with a top half finish. And, you know, given what we've been through the last couple of years, I would take that. I think, you know, when you look around, there's a couple of teams below us that should be higher and probably will be by the end of the season. And there's probably a couple of teams above us that probably won't be above us by the end of the season. So I would probably take a 9th, I think. I'd like to be in the in the race for Europe. But I think maybe about 9th is probably all we can expect. I think you've made the point very well that there's going to be injuries at some point, which is going to affect our form. We've been very, very unusually lucky so far in that respect, haven't we? Because this isn't a West Ham season so far. By now, we've normally got 3 or 4 key players out injured, and we've managed to avoid doing that so far. So we're doing really well, and I expect that to sort of fall apart a little bit at some point. So I would say 9th. If we can, get to 9th, that would be a decent season. But yeah, so we're all looking pretty positive at the moment, which is fantastic. And it's been another really good day for West Ham. Back-to-back wins. As we said at the start of the show, we've gone out and performed well against the teams we didn't expect to do well against, and we've gone out now against 2 teams on paper that you should do well against. We'd expect to do well against Fulham and Sheffield United, and we've achieved a return of 6 points out of 6 from those 2 games, which is wonderful. Here we are coming into December, and we are above the likes of Manchester United. We're above the likes of Arsenal. We're above the likes of Manchester City in the Premier League. And who would have predicted that back at the start of August? It's a funny old game, as someone once said, isn't it? Come on, you Irons.